Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep into a book today that I'm sure many of you have heard of, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, by Susan Jeffers.
A classic.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, and we are really excited to share the insights from this one.
Yeah, it's such a good book.
So much wisdom packed into it. All right, so I guess one of the things that I really appreciate about Jeffers' approach to fear is that she just acknowledges right away that fear is universal.
Absolutely.
It's something we all experience.
It is, and she really highlights that right from the get-go.
Right.
She talks about her fear class and how the students would come in and just be nervous and just scared.
Yeah, she paints this picture of everyone just huddled in silence, practically vibrating with anxiety.
Right, and then she talks about how that tension just dissipates
as
soon as people start sharing their fears.
Yeah.
Because they realize, oh,
I'm not the only one.
they're not alone.
Right.
Everybody's got something.
Right.
You know, you're afraid of public speaking. Someone else is afraid of spiders. And
exactly. And there's this immediate sense of relief of like, oh, thank goodness I'm not the only one who feels this way.
it's so true, and it's so relatable.
Oh, it is.
In so many areas of life.
It's like that moment when you finally admit you have no clue what's going on in a meeting and everyone else is like, oh, thank God, me neither.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
It's that shared experience of realizing we're all just kind of figuring things out as we go.
Right.
And that realization itself is huge because it normalizes fear.
Yeah.
Takes away that shame that we often attach to it.
Absolutely.
We think there's something wrong with us for feeling afraid, but it's like, no.
It's human. It's part of a human experience.
Right. Okay. So we've established that fear is normal. It's a universal experience, but why? Why are we so wired for it?
Right. Where does it come from?
Yeah. Jeffers digs into this idea that a lot of our fear is actually learned.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of times it's learned from the people who love us most, our parents.
Oh, absolutely. And she has this hilarious story about her own mother who, even under anesthesia,
Managed to whisper, be careful.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
I talk about ingrained caution, right?
That is so ingrained.
From day one.
Oh my goodness. I can just imagine it. Now, my mom, she was always warning me about like quicksand and stranger danger.
Oh, yeah.
All those potential dangers lurking around every corner.
And it's well-intentioned, right? I mean, they want to protect us.
Of course.
But it does something to us, I think, long-term.
Yeah, it instills this sense of caution that can sometimes, kind of bleed into like full-blown fear.
Yeah, or prevent us from taking risks.
Right.
That might actually be really good for us.
Absolutely. And, it makes you wonder how much of our current fear is actually based on real present danger versus like echoes of those childhood warnings.
It's a good question to ask yourself.
Right.
Like, is this a real threat, or am I just reacting to something?
Some old programming.
Yeah, some old programming.
And it's at this point in the book where Jeffers throws down the gauntlet. She's like, all right, we're done with the analysis now. Let's get to work.
Right. Let's put this into action.
Yeah, and she argues that waiting to feel confident before taking action is a surefire way to stay stuck.
Oh, absolutely.
You're never going to feel confident if you don't take action.
Right, and she really pushes this idea of action before feeling.
Right, and I love that she uses her own personal experience as an example.
Yes. After her divorce, she had to push herself to do practical things like home repairs.
Yeah, things she had never done before.
Right. She had always relied on her husband for those things.
Right.
And now she was on her own and she had to figure it out.
And it wasn't about suddenly feeling brave. It was about doing those things even while she was scared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that she kept waiting for that fear to vanish.
Right.
As she gained confidence.
And she was checking these things off her list.
Right. But it never fully went away. And that was a huge realization for her, that fear is often a companion, especially when we're growing and pushing boundaries.
Right.
The key is to act despite it.
To not let it hold us back.
Exactly.
I think that is such a good takeaway, especially for our learner persona who, they might be brimming with knowledge, but hesitant to actually apply it because of fear.
And she would say, don't wait for the fear to disappear.
Just do it.
Take that first step and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish.
Right. Okay. So we've established that everyone feels fear. It's often learned. And that avoiding action actually amplifies it.
Right.
So what about those people who just seem to breeze through challenges while others are totally paralyzed?
Yeah, what's their secret?
Right. What's going on there? And Jeffers makes this really pivotal distinction.
Yes.
It's not about the absence of fear.
Right.
It's about how we hold it. That determines our experience.
Yes, and it's such a great way to think about it.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How do you hold fear?
So imagine two hands, right?
Okay.
One hand is gripping fear tightly,
Okay.
letting it control every move.
Yeah.
The other hand is holding it loosely,
Okay.
acknowledging its presence, but refusing to be ruled by it.
So it's not about pretending fear, isn't there? It's about choosing how we respond to it.
Exactly.
I love that analogy.
And it's really a choice.
Yeah.
We have a choice in how we respond to fear. And that choice is about harnessing our inner power.
Okay, let's talk about power. What do we mean when we say power?
Well, she's not talking about power over others.
Right.
She's talking about power over our own perceptions and reactions.
So it's that inner strength to choose our response.
It's that self-assuredness that comes from knowing we can handle whatever comes our way.
So less about being fearless, more about having that inner strength.
Yes.
To face those fears.
Exactly. And she argues that this inner power is incredibly magnetic.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
It draws people in.
People are drawn to that confidence.
Right. It inspires trust and respect.
Yeah, we want to be around those who are like, okay, I got this. Not those who are crumbling at the first sign of difficulty.
Right.
Right. And she even links this inner power to the capacity for true love.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have immediately made that connection, but I'm curious.
Right. So think about it. When we lack inner power, we tend to seek validation and security from external sources, which can lead to unhealthy dependencies in relationships.
So we're looking outside of ourselves for that sense of worthiness.
Right. And that can really
sabotage our relationship.
Yeah, it can create a lot of problems.
So to love fully and authentically, we first need to cultivate that sense of strength.
Within ourselves.
And self-worth within ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I love that connection.
It's an important one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
Fear is normal.
Yeah.
It's often learned. Avoiding action makes it worse. And it's all about shifting from pain to power in how we relate to it.
Exactly.
I love it. All right, so stay tuned because we're just getting started.
There's so much more to uncover.
We're going to delve into specific tools and strategies that Jeffers offers for making that shift and living a more empowered life.
Absolutely practical steps you can take starting today.
I love it. All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into Feel the Fear.
Yeah.
And do it anyway.
I'm ready to level up my fear-fighting skills. What else you got?
Well, one of the most powerful tools that Jeffers offers is this concept of taking responsibility.
Taking responsibility. So you're saying it's my fault that I'm afraid?
Not quite. It's more nuanced than that. It's about taking responsibility for our experience of fear.
Okay.
How we react to it. The choices we make as a result.
So less about blaming ourselves, more about recognizing that we have choices.
Exactly. And she gives some really compelling examples in the book.
Oh, yeah. Like,
well, she talks about how it's so easy to blame others for our unhappiness. You know, like, oh, if only my boss wasn't such a jerk, or if only my partner was more supportive.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Right. But she challenges us to look deeper. She tells the story of Madeline, who blames her husband for 25 years of misery.
Oh, wow.
And Jeffers pushes back on that. She's like, why did you choose to stay? Why couldn't you see the good things he did instead of only finding fault?
So it's about acknowledging our own role in creating our reality.
Exactly. Yeah. Even when it feels like external factors are at play.
It doesn't mean blaming ourselves, though, right?
No, not at all. It's about understanding that we have choices in how we respond. And those choices shape our experience.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess I'm thinking about those times I've stayed in a job I hated. Complaining constantly, but not actually doing anything to change it.
And in those moments, you are giving your power away.
Oof. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Right. You were choosing to be a victim rather than taking responsibility for creating a different experience.
Okay, I see that. So taking responsibility is about recognizing that we have the power to choose our response.
Yes. And that leads us to another powerful concept. That Jeffers introduces no-lose decisions.
No-lose decisions. I like the sound of that. How can every decision be a winner, though?
It's all about shifting our perspective. She argues that every choice, every path offers valuable lessons and opportunities for growth.
Okay, so instead of getting caught up in the what ifs and the fear of making the wrong choice,
Yeah.
we can reframe it as, no matter what I choose, I'll gain something valuable.
Exactly. And she gives this example of Alex, who decides to switch from law school to psychology, even though it means disappointing his father and facing financial uncertainty.
That's a big leap of faith.
It was. But he trusted his gut feeling that law wasn't his true path. And by pursuing psychology, he not only learned new skills, but gained a deeper understanding of himself.
So even though it wasn't the easy path, it was ultimately a no-lose situation because it led him to where he needed to be.
Right. And it reminds us that sometimes those scary, unconventional choices are the ones that lead to the most growth and fulfillment.
I love that. And I think this is so important for our learner persona who might be wrestling with big life decisions, you know?
Absolutely. Knowing that it's impossible to truly screw up takes a lot of pressure off.
So much pressure off.
And it helps us to focus on what truly matters.
Yeah, what are our priorities, what brings us joy, what aligns with our values.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes those priorities evolve.
Oh, for sure. Mine change all the time.
Right, as we grow and change. And that's okay.
Okay, good to know. So it's not about having a rigid plan.
Right.
More about being open to exploration, trusting that the path will unfold as we go.
Beautifully said. And when we approach decisions from this no-lose perspective, we release a lot of the fear and anxiety that often paralyzes us.
Okay, this is making so much sense. So if it's impossible to make a wrong decision, does that mean we can just throw darts at a board and go with whatever lands?
Not quite. It's about aligning our choices with those identified priorities and the overall vision we have for our lives.
Okay, so we're not just blindly making decisions. We're making conscious choices based on what truly matters to us.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, so let's say we've made a decision. We're taking action, but those pesky fears still creep in. What do we do then?
Well, that's where Jeffers introduces one of the most powerful tools in her arsenal, saying yes to the universe.
Saying yes to the universe. Okay, now you've really piqued my curiosity. Tell me more.
It's about embracing whatever life throws our way.
Okay.
The good, the bad, the unexpected, letting go of that resistance. And opening ourselves to possibilities, even when they're not part of our original plan.
So it sounds a bit like surrendering to whatever happens, but with an attitude of optimism.
Exactly. It's about choosing to see the opportunity, the lesson, the potential for growth in every situation.
Okay, can you give me a concrete example? I'm a bit of a show me, don't tell me kind of learner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She shares the story of Charles, who was paralyzed from the waist down after being shot. He was consumed by despair, convinced his life was over.
Oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking.
It was a dark time for him. But then he had this profound realization.
What was that?
He could choose to say yes to this new reality.
Wow.
To find meaning and purpose despite his limitations.
So instead of saying, why me, he said, okay, universe, what now?
Exactly. And he started volunteering at a hospital, helping others facing difficult challenges. And in giving back, he discovered a joy and purpose he'd never experienced before.
That is so powerful.
It is. And Jeffers emphasizes that saying yes doesn't mean we won't experience pain or disappointment.
Right.
It's about recognizing those experiences as part of life, not something to be feared and avoided.
So it's about accepting the full spectrum of human experience, the highs and lows, the joys and sorrows, knowing that it's all part of a larger journey.
Beautifully said. And she makes this fascinating distinction between the pain of yes and the pain of no.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
So the pain of no is that feeling of helplessness, of being a victim of circumstance. It's the resistance, the why me, the feeling of being stuck.
And the pain of yes.
It's the pain of growth, of stretching beyond our comfort zones, of embracing the unknown. It's the pain that comes with truly living, even when it's messy and challenging.
So saying yes doesn't eliminate the pain, but it allows us to experience it differently.
Right.
To find meaning and even gratitude within those challenging moments.
Yes. And Jeffers points out that, many people who lead rich and fulfilling lives, they intuitively understand this power of saying yes to the universe.
They're not immune to pain or hardship, but they're willing to take risks.
Right.
To embrace the unknown, knowing that even if things don't go as planned, they'll learn and grow from the experience.
Exactly. And you don't have to wait for a major life event to practice this. Start small.
Oh, I like that.
Stuck in traffic. Instead of fuming, say yes to that moment. Maybe use the time to listen to a podcast or enjoy the scenery or practice mindfulness.
It's about shifting our perspective.
Yes.
Finding the opportunity within the challenge and choosing to make the most of whatever situation we're in.
Precisely. And that shift in mindset is what allows us to move from a place of fear to a place of power.
Okay, I love it. So we've talked about taking responsibility, making no-lose decisions, and saying yes to the universe. Any other fear-busting tools up your sleeve?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeffers offers this concept of cultivating a whole life commitment.
A whole life commitment. That sounds intense. Tell me more.
So she introduces this whole life grid.
Okay.
With 9 areas of focus: work, relationships, personal growth, health, finances, service, fun, and recreation, spirituality, and then any other area that feels important to you.
So it's like creating a roadmap for a balanced and fulfilling life.
Exactly. Making sure we're not neglecting any key areas. And the key is commitment.
Okay.
Consciously giving 100% to each area.
So when I'm at work, I'm fully engaged.
Yes.
When I'm with loved ones, I'm giving them my undivided attention. No more multitasking my way through life.
That's the idea. And commitment doesn't necessarily mean forever.
Okay.
It's about being present in whatever you're doing, even if it's temporary.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those times when we just feel uninspired or burnt out in a particular area? How do we stay committed then?
Well, Jeffers suggests using the power of acting as if.
Acting as if. I like where this is going. Tell me more. Right. Acting as if. So I'm picturing myself, striking a power pose, channeling my inner superhero. But in real life, how does this actually work?
Well, it's about asking yourself, if I were fully committed to this area of my life, what would I be doing right now?
Okay.
And then you take those actions.
Even if you don't feel like it.
Exactly. Even if it feels forced at first.
So if I'm feeling blah about my job, I can ask, what would a truly engaged employee be doing?
Yeah.
And then just start doing those things.
Exactly. Jeffers tells this great story about Sandy, who was bored out of her mind at a temporary job.
Oh, yeah.
Just counting down the days until she could leave.
Been there.
Right. But Jeffers encouraged her to act as if she truly mattered in that role.
Okay.
To set goals, connect with colleagues, find ways to make the work more enjoyable.
And what happened? Did she magically transform into a passionate paper pusher?
Well, not quite. But something remarkable did happen.
Okay.
Not only did her experience at work improve dramatically,
Wow.
but she also gained valuable skills and insights that she carried with her to her next job.
So by committing fully, even to a temporary situation, we can actually create a more positive experience.
Yes.
Gain valuable skills and boost our self-esteem.
It's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
And this whole concept of whole life commitment, it's so empowering because it gives us this sense of agency in creating the life we want.
It's like we're taking the reins, steering our own ship instead of feeling like we're just adrift at sea.
Exactly. And when we're committed to living a full and meaningful life, it naturally diminishes the power of fear.
I can see that.
Because we're no longer just trying to avoid negative outcomes.
Right.
We're actively creating a life worth living. Bumps and all.
This makes me think about how much time and energy I waste worrying about things that never actually happen.
It's a common trap.
Yeah.
But when we shift our focus to creating the life we want, we naturally have less bandwidth for those fear-based thought loops.
Okay, so we've explored taking responsibility, making no-lose decisions, saying yes to the universe, and cultivating a whole life commitment. What else? What other fear-busting tools do we have?
Well, she highlights this surprisingly powerful concept, the power of giving.
Giving? Wait, how does that tie into overcoming fear?
Well, Jeffers argues that giving in all its forms is the antidote to fear.
Okay, I'm listening.
So think about it. When we're in a state of fear, we're often operating from a place of scarcity.
Okay.
Focused on what we lack, what we might lose, what could go wrong.
Right, not exactly a recipe for inner peace.
But when we give freely, whether it's our time, energy, resources, or love, we shift into a mindset of abundance.
Okay.
We realize we have something valuable to offer the world.
Yeah.
And that act of giving diminishes the grip of fear.
So giving helps us to overcome that sense of lack.
Yes.
And connect to a deeper sense of purpose and connection.
Exactly. And she offers this framework for giving in various forms. Giving thanks, giving information, giving praise, giving time, giving money, and giving love.
Wow, a whole spectrum of giving. All right, let's break it down. What does it mean to give thanks?
Well, it's about cultivating an attitude of gratitude.
Okay.
Appreciating the good things in our lives and expressing that appreciation to others.
I can see how that simple shift in focus from what we lack to what we have can make a world of difference.
It does. She even assigned her students to go home and genuinely thank their spouses.
Oh.
And many were resistant at first, feeling like it should be the other way around. But in doing the exercise, They realized how much they were actually receiving in their relationships.
So giving thanks helped them to recognize the abundance that was already present in their lives.
Precisely. And it paved the way for more love and appreciation to flow between them.
That's beautiful. All right, what about giving information?
This is about sharing your knowledge and skills freely, helping others to learn and grow, contributing to the collective good, not hoarding information for personal gain.
This makes me think about, mentorship programs, sharing helpful tips with colleagues, or even just offering encouragement and support to a friend who's struggling.
Exactly. And Jeffers stresses that this should be done without expectation of something in return.
No strings attached.
Yes.
Just genuine helpfulness.
Yes.
And a desire to support others.
Right. And you'd be surprised how often those acts of generosity lead to unexpected benefits down the road.
Like what?
Well, new connections opportunities, or simply the satisfaction of making a positive impact.
Okay, I love that. What about giving praise? I think a lot of us struggle with this, especially when it comes to those closest to us.
Yeah, it's easier to point out flaws than to acknowledge what's going well.
Totally. But you're saying we should focus more on giving praise.
Jeffers believes that giving praise is essential for healthy relationships. She encourages us to focus on the positive qualities of those around us and express appreciation for their contributions.
So it's about choosing to highlight the good instead of dwelling on the negative.
Exactly. And remember, we attract what we project.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
If we want to be surrounded by loving and supportive people, we need to embody those qualities ourselves.
So giving praise isn't just about making others feel good.
Right.
It's about creating a more positive and uplifting environment for everyone involved.
Precisely. And often when we offer genuine praise, it inspires others to do the same.
Like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
Okay, I love that. All right, let's talk about giving time. I think that's one of the most precious gifts we can offer in our fast-paced world.
It is, and Jeffers encourages us to be generous with our time.
Okay.
Whether it's volunteering for a cause we believe in, listening attentively to a friend in need, or simply spending quality time with loved ones.
It's about being fully present and engaged with others, prioritizing connection over distraction.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be a grand gesture.
Right.
Even small acts of kindness, like holding the door open for someone offering a helping hand.
Right. Or simply sending a thoughtful text can make a big difference.
It's those little moments of human connection that can brighten someone's day.
Yes. And speaking of giving, let's not forget about giving money.
Okay.
Jeffers believes that even small donations can be incredibly empowering.
It's a way to support causes we care about.
Yes.
Help those in need and contribute to a more just and equitable world.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a huge sum. Even a few dollars to a local charity or a crowdfunding campaign can make a difference.
Right. And I can see how giving money, even in small amounts, can shift our perspective from scarcity to abundance. Instead of focusing on what we lack, we're acknowledging that we have something to give.
Exactly. And finally, there's the most profound form of giving love.
Okay, this is a big one. What does it mean to truly give love?
It's about expressing affection, kindness, and compassion to those around us, both through our words and our actions.
Yeah.
It's about showing up for the people we care about, offering support, encouragement, and celebrating their successes. So it's about creating a space of love and acceptance, both for ourselves and for others.
Beautifully said. And remember, Jeffers emphasized earlier that true love requires inner power.
Right. We need to cultivate self-worth and security within ourselves before we can love others fully and authentically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because when we're coming from a place of neediness or insecurity, our love can become distorted.
Right.
We might try to control others, manipulate them, or constantly seek validation.
So giving love is about offering our hearts freely without expectation of reciprocation or validation.
Exactly. And Jeffers reminds us that the more we give love, the more we receive it in return.
I love that. Okay. I'm seeing how all these forms of giving, from giving thanks to giving love, can create a ripple effect of positivity and abundance,
right,
both in our own lives and the world around us.
They can. And when we make giving a regular practice, it naturally diminishes the power of fear.
Because we're no longer just consumed by our own needs and anxieties.
Right.
We're actively engaging with the world, contributing to something larger than ourselves, and connecting to a deeper sense of purpose and meaning.
Exactly. And that sense of purpose and connection is ultimately what sets us free from the grip of fear.
I love it. This has been an incredible journey through Jeffers' work. We've covered so much ground, from understanding the nature of fear to embracing the power of giving. I'm feeling truly inspired.
Me too. But there's one more powerful concept that I think will resonate with you.
Okay, hit me with it. What is it?
It's the concept of connecting to our higher self.
Our higher self. Okay, I've heard this term before, but I'm not sure I fully grasp it.
Well, Jeffers describes it as the source of our most positive qualities.
Okay.
Creativity, intuition, trust, love. Compassion. It's the part of us that's connected to something larger than ourselves.
Okay.
A wellspring of wisdom, guidance, and unconditional love.
So it's like tapping into that wise, loving inner voice that always seems to know the way, even when our minds are racing with doubts.
Exactly. And she believes that when we align our actions with our higher self, we naturally diminish the power of fear.
Because we're no longer solely reliant on our ego, with all its anxieties and limiting beliefs.
Right.
We're tapping into a source of strength and wisdom that's far greater than our individual fears.
Precisely. And she offers some fascinating insights into how our higher self operates.
Okay, I'm all ears. This is starting to sound like we're about to unlock a hidden superpower.
In a way, we are. She explains that our minds have three main parts.
Okay.
The conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the higher self.
All right, let's break that down. What's the conscious mind?
Think of it as the CEO of your mind.
Okay.
The part that's aware of your thoughts, feelings, and sensations in the present moment. It makes decisions, sets goals, and interacts with the world around you.
Makes sense. What about the subconscious mind?
Imagine a vast library filled with your beliefs, memories, and habits.
Okay.
It operates mostly below conscious awareness, but it powerfully influences your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
So it's like the autopilot of our minds.
Exactly.
Running programs and patterns we've developed over time.
Yes. And here's the thing. The subconscious mind can work for us or against us.
Okay.
Depending on the messages it receives.
This is reminding me of those self-help gurus who say, you are what you think.
There's truth to that.
Yeah.
And this is where the higher self comes in.
Okay, I'm ready to connect the dots. How does the higher self relate to the conscious and subconscious minds?
So Jeffers explains that the conscious mind has a choice.
Okay.
It can listen to the chatterbox, that inner voice of fear and negativity that replays limiting beliefs and anxieties.
Oh, I know that chatterbox doll too well. It feels like it has a VIP pass to my inner monologue.
We all have our own version of the chatterbox.
Yeah.
But the good news is the conscious mind can also choose to tune into the wisdom and guidance of the higher self.
So it's about making a conscious effort to shift our focus away from those fear-based thoughts and toward the more loving and supportive messages of our higher self.
Exactly. And the more we connect to our higher self, the more those positive qualities, creativity, intuition, trust, love, will naturally flow through us.
Okay, this is all starting to click. But how do we actually connect with our higher self? Are we talking about chanting mantras on a mountaintop?
Well, that might work for some. But Jeffers offers more practical tools for everyday life.
Yeah.
Remember those affirmations we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
She suggests using affirmations specifically designed to connect with our higher self.
So things like, I trust the wisdom of my higher self, or I am guided and supported by my higher self.
Exactly. It's about intentionally inviting that higher wisdom into your decision-making and daily life.
I'm already feeling more centered just thinking about it. What other techniques does Jeffers recommend?
Well, she's a big advocate for meditation.
Meditation. I've tried it, but my mind always seems to race 1,000,000 miles a minute.
I hear you. The key with meditation isn't to empty the mind completely,
Okay.
but rather to observe your thoughts without judgment.
Okay.
And gently redirect your attention back to the present moment.
So it's more about creating space for stillness.
Yes.
And allowing that higher wisdom to emerge.
Precisely. Even a few minutes of meditation each day can make a big difference. And she also emphasizes the importance of intuition.
Intuition, that gut feeling that sometimes pops up out of nowhere.
Yes. She believes that our intuition is the voice of our higher self.
Okay.
Guiding us toward choices that are in alignment with our highest good.
But how do we distinguish between genuine intuition and, say, our fears or anxieties masquerading as intuition?
That's a great question. Pay attention to the feeling tone that accompanies the thought or impulse.
Okay.
Intuition often feels expansive, peaceful, and aligned, like a gentle nudge in the right direction.
Whereas fear tends to feel constricted, urgent, and even a bit panicky.
Exactly.
Right.
Like a warning siren blaring in your head.
Right. The more we practice listening to our intuition, the more we learn to discern those different voices.
Yes. It's like strengthening a muscle.
Yes.
The more we use it, the more reliable it becomes.
Okay. I like that. And you're saying we should trust those intuitive nudges.
Yes. even when they don't make logical sense.
Because sometimes our higher self knows things that our conscious mind hasn't quite caught up with yet.
Exactly. She shares some incredible stories of people who've made life-changing decisions based solely on their intuition.
Wow.
And it led them to incredible places.
So trusting our intuition can lead us down unexpected paths that ultimately lead to greater fulfillment and happiness.
It can. And remember, your higher self is always there for you, a constant source of guidance and support, even when you feel lost or afraid.
This is incredibly empowering, but I think a lot of us struggle with self-doubt. You know, we might intellectually grasp this concept of a higher self, but still question whether we're worthy of connecting with it, or whether it's even real.
That's a common experience. It takes time and practice to cultivate a strong connection with your higher self.
Okay.
Be patient with yourself. Keep practicing the tools we've discussed, and trust that you're on the right path.
So it's about having faith in the process and believing in our own capacity for growth and transformation.
Exactly. We're all works in progress.
Right.
There's no finish line when it comes to personal growth.
So we embrace the journey.
Yes.
And enjoy the ride, even with those inevitable bumps along the way.
Exactly. And believe me, as you connect more deeply with your higher self, you'll naturally become more loving, compassionate, and courageous.
Because we're no longer driven by fear and scarcity. We're operating from a place of love, abundance, and limitless possibility.
Beautifully put. That's the heart of Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's not about becoming fearless.
Right.
It's about recognizing that fear is a natural part of being human.
Then we have a choice in how we respond to it. We can let it control us, or we can choose to move through it, trusting that our higher selves will guide us toward our highest good.
Yes.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, I want to leave you with this question. What would you do if you knew you couldn't make a wrong decision? What would you create? What would you experience? What would you give?
Such a powerful question.
Let that question be your compass and see where it leads you.
That's it for this week's deep dive into Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Join us next time for another fascinating exploration of a new topic. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.